When we harvest sweet peas, there are various things that we need to look out for. For example, this stem, it's quite a nice big stem with a thick stem, and it has 3 open flowers. Now here at Wilden Flowers we have the rule that we have a minimum of 3 flowers per stem, and depending on the customer, all those flowers can be open, or we pick them when they're still a bit more closed, like this one. So this flower stem has only 1 open, and then there are 2 buds which will open in the vase. The open one has a much longer stem than the closed one, or the half-closed one. And that's generally the case, because as the flowers open, the stem still grows. So this one is about a day or 2 older than this one, but also had another day or 2 to grow longer, which is what most customers want. So we won't usually harvest these, but if you add a few of these, because some people really like the buds as well in a mixed bunch of sweet peas. And as long as the overall stem length of the bunch is at least sort of 40 centimeters, so 400 millimeters, then you have an acceptable bunch. Here we have a very nice stem, even thicker than this one that we picked just before, and it has 4 open flowers. Really wonderful one, so we'll definitely add that to the bunch. We harvest with these needle nose secateurs, which are actually not terribly expensive. They do get a bit rusty, so they usually don't last longer than a season or 2, but they're very sharp and very useful indeed. Another one with 4 flowers, all open, so that's perfect for weddings or for funerals or even for shop sales. I always harvest with my right hand, so secateurs in my right hand. I'm right-handed, and I hold the sweet peas in my left hand. And that goes on until I've got a nice big bunch, and then I go to the packing table, where I'll bunch them up in bunches of 10. So here we have our packing table, and we have a bucket here with silver solution. I'll say a little bit more about that later. We bundle our sweet peas in bunches of 10. So 7, 8, 9, 10. Make sure that the ends are nice and all at the same height, and then we have a little elastic band which we put around it. Don't put the elastic too far up, because then the petals will get damaged. Here at Wilden Flowers we make a lot of mixed bunches, so various colors. Here we've got violet and blue. But we also make single bunches, which is often especially wanted for weddings or special events where people want a particular colour. The elastic bands are just standard elastic bands from a stationery supplier. I'm running out, I've got just 8 here. What I would not do is put just 2 of one colour and 8 of another colour, because then you get sort of a funny bunch. There's nobody who likes that. So if you mix the colours, you need to make sure that you've got sort of equal numbers of the various colours. So if you have 2 colours, you have 5 of the one colour and 5 of the other colour. And if you have 3 colours, you have 3, 3 and 4. Once we have 10 bunches, the bucket is full, and we take the bucket out of the sun, out of the greenhouse, and put it in a cool spot. We can pick from one planting of sweet peas for about 4 to 6 weeks, and usually we start picking at about this height. That's when the first sweet peas come, and then of course as the plants grow you have to reach higher and higher. But these are still good sweet peas. After 4 to 6 weeks the plant is sort of tired, and the stems get shorter, the stems get thinner, the plant gets higher, and it becomes more and more difficult to find good quality sweet peas. For example, on this side we've got a crop that is finished, and in this case we're using it for seed production because this is a really good variety. You can see there's no good sweet pea anymore. If we look at something like this, it's got a very short stem, and these flowers are already too far. They're already setting seed. You can see a developing seed pod here. So we would never harvest something like this. Here's another stem. Of course it's got 3 stems open. The total stem length isn't even all that bad, but this flower is already too old. Again, easily we can take the petals off and we can already see a seed pod developing. So we would not pick this stem for cut flowers, for sales. So this lot over here we just keep for seed production, and you can see that many seed pods are developing, and that will give the seeds for next year. So when we harvest peonies, it's very important to get to pick them at the right stage. It's called the marshmallow stage. Of course, peonies like we have over here, they're far too open. So something like this we wouldn't be able to sell anymore. So we're going to walk through it now and see if we can find some at the right stage. This one over here is still relatively tight, but you can see if you press that it sort of moves, and that's what we call the marshmallow stage. So that one would be good for picking. When we harvest the peonies, we make sure that there's still 1 or 2 leaves attached to the plants, because peonies are plants that only send out flowering shoots and not just shoots with only leaves. So if we would cut all the leaves off, then of course the plant would not be able to photosynthesize throughout the season, and the plant would slowly die. So we need to make sure that we always leave some of the leaves which give the photosynthesis, or which do the photosynthesis, and make sure that we leave some of those leaves on the plants. Here we have a fairly nice one. Marshmallow stage, quite a soft one this one. And then we feel down the plant and we make sure that we cut it with 2 leaves still attached to the plant. Here's another one, actually already quite advanced, but because these will be sold tomorrow, this would still be alright to pick. So we look again and we leave 1 leaf, 1 or 2 leaves attached to the plant. We have some peonies here at different stages. This one is a bit harder. This I would say is perfect, sort of half marshmallow. Again, we leave 1 or 2 leaves at the plant and then we harvest this. So this will slowly open either in the vase or in the flower shop before people buy it. Here we have a peony bud which is still too hard. If you squeeze it, nothing happens. This is called sort of a tight bud stage. And this is not something that we would harvest unless for long-term storage. So peonies are quite special in the way that you can harvest them at this stage, then wrap them in moist newspaper and store them at 1 degree centigrade for up to 6 or 8 weeks. So you can supply peonies quite outside the normal season, which here at Wilden Flowers is usually the last week of May and the first 2 weeks of June. Now if you want to have peonies outside that season, there's not really much you can do to make them flower later or to make them flower earlier, but if you want to supply the market later in the season, you can pick your peonies at this really tight bud stage, bundle them in tens and wrap them in moist newspaper, and then keep them in a cold store at 1 degree Celsius, and then after, you've got up to 6 or 8 weeks then to sell them. So right here we're at the packing table where we do the sleeving and the leaf stripping, and then the sleeving of the peonies, and also the grading, because we have stems in different lengths. So we take a few leaves off so that we have at least sort of like 20 centimeters of stem which we can keep on the plant. And let me see, I always grade them sort of at the same length, so the long ones go here, that's 3, this one's a bit shorter so I'll put that one there. So short one, long one, 4, another long one, 5, and 10. So here we have a bundle of 10, all in the same colour, and then what we do is cut the stems all at the same length, and then we have these elastic bands which go around like that. And next we have a sleeve with our logo, a sticker with our logo on it, so that our peonies can be recognized in the market. And that's that. That's our bunch ready to take to the flower shops. So here we've got another very nice crop, quite unusual and not very common in the market. It's called Cerinthe. And the stems are getting longer all the time. Initially the stems were just sort of 40 centimeters, but now they reach 50 centimeters, so 500 millimeters. Again, we take some of the lower leaves off. 2, 3, 9. This one's a bit thin, I wouldn't include that one. Generally, the thicker the stem is, the longer the vase life, and this is true for pretty much every flower. So we always like to have thick stems. Where was I? 9. That's a nice one. Cerinthe always hangs a bit. It's a sort of almost like a bell type of flower. Very nice flower to use in English bouquets. So just double check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 we've got here. Same procedure as with the peonies. Cut the stems off at the same length. Then we have an elastic band which we put around, and then it's time for sleeving. Now here's our label gun, and we use that to put the labels onto the sleeves. Quite a useful time-saving gadget. Put the Cerinthe again. Like everything else here at Wilden Flowers, we make bunches of 10, which makes calculating and selling our crops really easy and efficient. And the sleeve helps to protect the crop during transit, and when we make the buckets together, so put the orders together, so when we do order filling for the florists. So I really like the sleeves because they really protect the crops. So here we've got 15 good stems. Now what I don't like so much is how the leaves look. Some of these have really leaves that are quite damaged, which is really not so fantastic. So it's quite obvious we are getting at the end of this crop, unfortunately, but no, if you look at this still looks really quite nice. So next thing is, again, we cut all the stems at the same length with our trusty secateurs, and next step is elastic band, and there we are. We've got a nice bunch, even though I'm not particularly happy with the leaves, but we'll just have to do with that. Next step is a sleeve, and as you can see we've got the label here, so this will be a nice branded bunch of Sweet William, ready ready to be sold in the local flower shops around the area. Yeah, nicely protected with the sleeve, beautiful colours, beautiful scent, great. We're going to harvest hydrangeas, and what we've got here is a nice patch of hydrangea, and the variety is called Annabelle. Let's have a look. Hydrangeas are very popular, and especially this variety, these huge big heads in this sort of whitish greenish lime colour. So we harvest them fairly low. Like this, and then we strip all the leaves off like that. Now that is an amazing stem. Hydrangeas are very popular for all sorts of types of floristry, and especially with a long stem like that, they're just absolutely exquisite. There are different types of hydrangeas. You've got the hydrangeas which flower on this year's growth, and that is, for example, this Annabelle. But there are all the other hydrangeas which flower on last year's growth, and those are the hydrangeas that I don't really recommend for cut flower production, because it really means that if you have a harsh winter and a lot of your shoots die down, that you go a whole year without flowers, because those varieties, so the second type of variety, the flowers appear on the growth from the year before, from the previous year. So if you haven't got any previous year's growth, that means that you don't have flowers for a year. But not so with the Hydrangea Annabelle. These grow on this year's wood, so this is all grown this year, and then at the end you get a nice big flower head like that. Good. We bunch them here in bunches of 5 because they're so big. 10 wouldn't fit in a sleeve. So let's see if we can find 5, and then I'll show you the next procedure. Good, so now we've got 5, and unlike what we do with most flowers, we're not cutting them all at the same length, because otherwise they would be just too squashed in the sleeve. So we've got 5 stems here, nice and tall, that's at least 80 centimeters, and we put an elastic band around them. Hydrangeas have a slightly bad reputation for going floppy quite quickly. And to prevent that, we use a natural product called alum. Alum is just a white powder. It's actually aluminium sulfate, and we dip the stems in the alum powder, and that prevents them from going soft. And then the whole lot goes in the sleeve. So here we have Eryngium. Eryngium is a really grateful crop. Makes a lot of stems, and it's a perennial. So it takes a year or 2 before they get going. These are in their 2nd year, and yeah, you can see there's an awful lot of Eryngium out here. Well, when it comes to harvesting Eryngium, we need to make sure that the actual stems are well ripened. Because if the stems are too green, like this one over here, after you cut them, the stems will droop. So that's why we are looking for stems, ideally, which already start to turn blue, like this one over here. So we have this steel blue color, which is quite popular in modern arrangements. So we strip the leaves, and that is a very nice stem. At least 80 centimeters, possibly a meter. Good, let's find a few more. Got one here which is already quite blue. Beautiful, very, very nice stem with almost 100 little flower heads. Here we have a crop of poppies, and often people ask, oh, do poppies last then? Because most people think that poppies don't last in the vase. But we have found if we cut them at the right stage and then burn the ends with a torch, you get actually a really good vase life out of them. So we'll select the right poppies to pick here. And that is this stage, with a bud that is just about to open. Here's another one. And even at this stage, when the bud is fully developed but not quite opening yet, you can harvest these poppies and they will open in the vase. So here we have our bunch with poppies that we've just harvested. And now we're going to burn the ends. So we use for that this torch, which runs on gas. And we make sure we really blacken the ends quite well. Effectively sealing the ends, sealing the wounds, and as a result there's no milky sap oozing out then, which would otherwise spoil the water. Now these will last a week in the vase. Here we have a crop of calendula. Now calendula is not one of the most favourite flowers in the world, one of the most popular flowers, but still there is a market for calendula, especially if you use really nice varieties like this one, which is called Orange Princess with a black heart. And you can see why, because it has this really nice dark center in the middle. These are just starting to flower, so the stems are still relatively short. In this case, just well, let me see, 40 centimeters, and that is absolutely the minimum. Now we do take the side shoots off, and then we have a flower like that. When you harvest calendula, it's really important to make sure that the flower is really open, which is the case with most of these sort of aster type of flowers. Zinnias, sunflowers, you know, you wouldn't want to pick them in a tight bud like this over here, because this would never open in the vase. So with most of these aster type of flowers, these daisy type of flowers, they need to be fully open before you pick them.